I just want to welcome everyone to this conversation. We are very thankful for our two panelists this evening, Tommy Chong, as everyone knows, the cultural icon, actor, writer, director, musician, cannabis rights activist, and comedian. And David Cobb, one of our wonderful, amazing California Progressive Alliance Advisory Board members, also co-coordinator of the U.S. Solidarity Economy Network, and co-founder of Cooperation Humboldt. So this evening, we are going to be having a casual conversation, and we welcome your questions. We will try to fit in questions as much as we can. But the general discussion is going to center around cannabis policy, cooperative economics, and we may be touching on the issues around the California recall election. So welcome, David, and welcome, Tommy. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Well, thanks so much, Nick Cortez, and to everyone at the California Progressive Alliance. I mean, I know that nobody on this call needs an introduction to Tommy Chong. Most of us grew up with Tommy Chong, right? His work has been influential to all of us. And so it is really my great pleasure to actually engage with Tommy Chong actually as a cannabis activist, somebody who is in the cannabis business and who has demonstrated politically a level of progressive sensibility and thinking. I want to really lift up Laura Costa and Cara Cardoni, who are active with Cooperation Humboldt's Cooperative Cannabis Economy Working Group, who really provided us this, frankly, introduction to Tommy and opening up a space. Because what I found is that in progressive politics, there is a, cannabis policy is a thing, but we haven't really merged it. And I'll be very blunt. And Tommy, this is really the sort of the introduction to you into the conversation. I genuinely believe that if we can bring the energy and the juice and the spirit of the green renaissance cannabis world, right? Not just the commodity, but the real spirit of what ganja can bring into people's lives into progressive politics, we've got a winning supermajority, and we can create a peaceful, just, democratic, and ecologically sustainable world. And if we don't, we're going to keep getting corporate Democrats at best or fascist Republicans at worst. So Tommy Chong, am I going too far? What do you think?
No, you're right on point, my friend. You're right on point. And if I wasn't as stoned as I was, I'd probably be adding some points to it, but you nailed it. You nailed it, my friend. The truth is, we're here in our little corner of space and time, and this is where we're at. And it is very exciting, very interesting, very exciting, very fulfilling for me, because I was one of the lucky ones that got a glimpse of what it could be and what it would take in order for it to be what it is. And that was pretty profound itself. So what I'm saying is that weed has always been here. We're the ones that are just discovering its benefits. Other civilizations have enjoyed it, discovered it, used it, enjoyed it for literally millions of years. And so it's just our tribe right now, our 20th century gang here on Earth. We're just learning all the good parts of our beautiful planet and how to enjoy it, our beautiful planet, because it really comes down to the fight for survival, and that's what's been going on, except for pockets of humanity where you had monks and thinking people, hippies, and people of the earth, natives, people that are one with nature. And so right now we're in the process of combining the savages with the peaceful peace seekers. That's where we are right now, and we're winning. We're winning because we're not fighting. There's no fight. Yeah, there was, during the Vietnam War, but it was to stop the war. But
Right.
look at this. Look what's happening in Afghanistan. And there wasn't one hippie protesting. Nothing. We didn't have to do anything. And Joe Biden, who better to take this chaos than Joe? Nobody. Nobody. Because he said, they said, did you expect this? Well, who the hell? No one expected this. Did we expect January 6th? No. We were totally unprepared for it because it's so off the wall. But the people that were prepared, are the ones that are now, talking about it, But the weed makes everything, if not clear, it makes logic just stands right out when you're high, and creativity.
You've put a lot on the plate, so I love it, and I especially like that you really centered the idea of cannabis, weed, ganja, call it what you want, but it's sacrament, and that
Yes.
Throughout all of world history, there has been a recognition of using natural substances to help us connect with higher consciousness.
Exactly.
And that, that's how you started, your sort of musing. And I really want to underscore that. And I think that, I'm going to be super real here. I'm terrified, Tommy, because I'm watching that the climate crisis is accelerating. It's not coming, it's here and getting worse. Economic crisis of capitalism is destroying the planet. And a political crisis is developing. Fascism is literally emerging in this country, right? So
Yeah.
If you just look at the intellectual thing, it's like, fuck! Sorry. For real, that's me being really clear. And what I know, I feel it in my body, I think it in my head, I feel it in my heart, it's in every part of me, that this is the time where those of us who have the higher consciousness, and I am going to be really clear about that, who recognize that we don't own the earth, we are part of it, that we have to share wealth, power, and decision-making authority to facilitate a jumpin' joyous earth. That's actually what we have to get to. And to be super real, man, I'm only 58 years old, but I can tell you at my generation, growing up in the rural South to a very conservative household, pot is what got me to thinking like that. Honest to goodness, if I had not had people turn me on to that, I don't think I would have gotten to the point that I am now, spiritually, politically, or economically.
Yeah. Well, that's what it does. It clears the mind. That's why we have receptors in our brain that only that connects with the cannabis. That's the receptors in hemp oil and CBD, and it's a miracle. It's a miracle, but it also, what it does, it clears the mind. A lot of the knock-on pot was, and I was just thinking about that today. The knock-on pot was all true. It is a gateway drug. It is a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug to introduce you to your mind, really. And so if this is, is what's happening with marijuana, well, then let me try cocaine and let me try it. Yeah, it is. But that's why we're here. We're here to go through that gate. You know, don't
Well,
be trapped behind the gate. Go through
and you
the
know,
gate.
Tommy, like the Hopi elder recently commented that this moment that we're in, with all of its crisis, with all of its horror and everything, said that it is in fact either a hole or a portal. Like we're all going to go through this, right? Like we're in this moment, but how
Yeah.
you approach it
Yeah.
will determine whether it's a hole you fall down or a portal to a new thing. And I think that that's really what you're getting to here.
Well, I'm getting to that, but I'm also getting to the fact that we, us, the human being, we are eternal beings. Every living thing on earth, including earth, is eternal. The only thing that's constant in the universe is change. Every drop of water that was ever here when the earth was formed is still here. Human beings are 90% water. So 90% of us, we know scientifically, is always been here. It's eternal. There's never been a time when we did not exist. Now, what we have to do is the ones that are enlightened. Now, our job is to enlighten others. But in order to enlighten others, they have to want to be enlightened. You know, like one time when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was a beach freak because I grew up in Calgary. And so when I got to Los Angeles, the only thing I did every day was go to the beach. I couldn't wait to go to the beach. Because when I grew up in Calgary, we had to drive 200 miles for a beach. And it was a mud beach. It wasn't even a beach, it was mud. And so when I got to California, I'm on this beach every day. And I would go in the water and the waves would hit me. And one day, I saw this guy look like he was a dead body. He's floating in the water like a dead body, lifeless. And so I go over and I grab him, thinking that, well, if nothing else, I'll drag the body onto the beach. And he woke up. He stood up and said, "What are you doing?" And I didn't know what to say, because what I was saying, I was going to save you. I was going to drive your dead ass over to the beach. I said, "Oh, sorry." and I went away, but I learned a lesson. You see, sometimes people look like they're dying. They look like they're going to run off a cliff. They look like they're doing, but what all they're doing really is living their life. It's what they're destined to do and what they're destined to be. Now, believing lies and following, myths and all that, is that what you're here to do? Because that's sure to hell what you're doing. And you can't change people. You cannot change people. The only thing you can change is yourself. And so every problem that we look at, that we see, especially in the cannabis world, will be solved. You talk about climate change, yeah, humans, it's the Earth's way of depopulating the planet. It's too populated right now. And you've worn out, places of the planet is worn out. And so the planet has to change. And what used to be farmland will now be desert. And what used to be desert will now be mountains. Who knows? That's nature, And our job is to live on the planet that we have at the
Tommy,
time we have it.
I love it. And I'm going to get us into a conversation. So, and I want to welcome everyone who is watching live and those who are watching the recording. My name is David Cobb. I am an advisor with the California Progressive Alliance. I serve as the co-coordinator of the U.S. Solidarity Economy Network. I'm with Cooperation Humboldt locally, and I'm on the Collaborative Design Council for Transition US. And I'm talking to cultural icon, comedian, cannabis activist, actor, director, all around awesome dude, Tommy Chong. Tommy,
grandpa
and
too.
grandpa, right? And we got a chance to be part of your granddaughter's 1-year birthday party, which was fun.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Tommy. Like, I am a straight up revolutionary. Now, don't get alarmed. I'm a peaceful revolutionary, But I don't make any bones about it. Like, I am trying to be part of an effort to restructure the society, right? Because I know it's possible to live in a peaceful, just, democratic, and ecologically sustainable society. But I also know, you talked about change, and it makes me think of another cultural icon, right? Who said, they say that time changes everything, but it's not really true. You actually have to change things yourself, right? And so what I'm interested in is like talking to you as somebody who's really been in the trenches, right? So on one blush, it's like, oh, Tommy Chong, like an actor, a comedian, musician. But one thing that I want to bring into this conversation is that you were also targeted by the U.S. government in Operation Pipe Dreams and Operation Headhunter. Like, you were the subject of really, a pretty horrific attack piece by the federal government. And I'd just like to ask you, like, how did that resolve, and how did that change? If it did change, how did that change how you're thinking about like politics and government, and because I think that we got to get involved. Like, we can't let that kind of shit just happen. So
that's true. Well, before I was busted, I was just a comedian, and and I got into the bong business. It was my wife's idea. Everything's been my wife's idea. She's, I'll blame her for everything. But and it was her idea to start the bong company with my son, and because I was signing everybody else's bongs. And so she said, we should have our own line of bongs. And so we got our line of bongs, and they're art pieces. They're beautiful. And right now they're collector's items. In fact, as an art piece, they've gone way up. In fact, we're working on $1 million bong. Actually, it'll be $1 billion bong, but I'll stick with the million for now. So, we were just artists, and all of a sudden, we were targeted by the feds. Now, we were told. It wasn't that we weren't told. There was, signs that they were cracking down on the bong business, and so we had to make sure that we said that these bongs are for tobacco use only. And then then the feds started following me around, going from store to store, different stores in Arlington, Texas, and they were spending a lot of money. And then they had helicopters and surveillance planes over my house, and then they had my phone tapped, and then they put a secret operative into our company, our bong company. And so when it came time for the feds to try to bust us, they tried to make a purchase. And we had rules where we wouldn't sell to Pennsylvania. And it's on tape. In fact, it was the tape that they were going to use against me in court. And so they taped themselves literally, trying to, what's the word? Manufacture a bust,
Right.
It was a total setup.
So, for folks who are not as familiar with the backstory that Tommy's talking about, I just want to put some facts out there. So there were 55 people who were subjects to this federal investigation. Tommy Chong was clearly targeted because of his celebrity status. He was the only defendant without previous convictions who received jail time. The U.S. attorney, Mary Beth Buchanan, basically admitted that even though he was a relatively new player, he had the ability to market products. During the investigation of Nice Dreams, federal agents posed as head shop owners, and they targeted Tommy and Paris Chong together. So I just want to point out that what we saw in that was an effort to make an example out of somebody who had been really public about the role that cannabis could play. And so, Tommy, that's why I think it's important that we actually get into a conversation around politics. And my challenge to everybody watching this is, if you think that you could, people say, oh man, I don't believe in government. Well, I got news for you. The government believes in you, right? And so one of the reasons that I'm part of the California Progressive Alliance, and just as a matter of full disclosure, Tommy, I was the Green Party nominee for president of the United States in 2004. I managed Jill Stein's presidential campaign in 2016. See, I think we have to get involved in electoral politics, but we have to do it authentically. We have to do it transformationally and not play their game according to their rules. But I think of elections as a front of struggle. It's just it's a place to engage political discourse. And I'm encouraging us to use this moment, because I had a little bit of conversation with John Paul. I want to turn us into this California recall and say straight up, y'all, I'm a Green Party member. I didn't vote for Gavin Newsom in the first election, but I'm going on record right now saying, please vote no on this recall. I think it is a Trump-inspired right-wing Republican effort to undermine the democratic process. I know that some Green Party members get pissed at me whenever I say it so clearly and unequivocally, but I'm saying vote no on the recall. Personally, I would invite you to vote for Capitalism, the Green Party candidate, on the second part of the ballot. But Tommy, I'm going to entice you. I know you've got some opinions on this recall. I know you do.
Absolutely. Well, I met Gavin, and he's a very, very sweet guy and very nice and very hip. He knew who I was. That's how that's how I judge my politicians. If they know who I am, I know what they've been doing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I liked about Gavin. And when I met him, was he governor? No, I think he was just running for governor at the time. Anyway, I was very impressed with his youthfulness. He's young, and he's part of the new generation, that has taken over the world, with .comers and all those people. So
Tommy, I'm reminded, like Bill Clinton, right? Whenever he said, I smoked pot, but I didn't inhale. Like now the new generation of course I inhaled. That's the point, dumbass.
That was Obama's line, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Well, so I met Gavin. Of course, it's no, especially when you look at the other people. But what's happening, and this is what I like about what's going on, is that there's fear. Thanks to Donald Trump, there is genuine fear that if you don't vote, you could end up with a Donald Trump. So now every Democrat on the planet is going to vote. Believe me, they are going to vote, because it's not, they're going to win anyway, ho-hum. You know what I mean? That was the Democrats' problem before. After Barack, it was like, oh, Hillary's going to win. There's no problem with that, And as we know what happened. So what we got to do, and and I know what's going to happen. I know this is going to happen, because we can't take any more of that mindset. That think about it. When you read the Constitution, which this is what I give Trump credit for. He made everybody read and reread that Constitution because it means everything, man. Can he get another term? Let's read that again. Can he be arrested? Yes, he can. Okay, why aren't they arresting him? Well, they're dragging it out as long as they can so that every Republican that is tainted by Trump will lose, and lose badly. And eventually the Trump thing will be it'll be like David Duke and all the rest of the Nazi party that have just faded away into the abyss. I'm not going to say sunset. I'll say the abyss. But they're headed like Donald. The Donald is headed for jail. And that's going to be the new Trump Towers, because they'll probably have to isolate them. And if there got any if there's any kind of justice in the world, poetic justice, we need a tower. We need a Trump Tower, where maybe in Guantanamo. That would be beautiful. The Trump Tower in Guantanamo, housing the most famous prisoner on earth.
Oh man, from your lips to the goddess's ears. So folks, let's just be clear. David Cobb, Tommy Chong, both saying please, please, please vote no on that recall. Now, again, I personally am going to, as a California voter, I'm just naming it. I'm going to be individually casting a ballot for Dan Capelevitz, the Green Party nominee, who is on the ballot. But I would encourage folks to remember that the question, if you're a California voter, you're going to be posed question one: should Gavin Newsom be recalled? Yes or no? Like, that's all you can answer on question one. Question two is, if Gavin Newsom is recalled, who do you think should be the governor? Gavin Newsom is not allowed to be there on number two. So I would encourage you to find a progressive candidate to just cast your vote for, right? To at least build momentum around it. Tommy,
good idea.
Thank you. See, Tommy Chong says great idea. So look, here's another great idea, Tommy, that I really want to engage you with, and that is at Cooperation Humboldt, Cara Cardoni, Laura Costa, who I think you know, are part of a grouping for creating a cooperative cannabis economy, like trying to get cannabis farmers, processors, distributors, and consumers in a supply chain where we're cooperating with one another, instead of treating cannabis as a mere commodity to be bought and paid for at the most profit that you can extract every step of the way, and shifting into a new economic paradigm. And
a cannabis co-op.
Like a cannabis co-op. That's exactly it, right? And so imagine a co-op that's not just like, so we're starting with agricultural co-ops, but Cara, Nicole Riggs, and others are saying, well, can we build like really a community-supported agriculture model where like I, as a consumer, get to like, I get into a genuine, honest to goodness relationship with my farmer, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, Tommy, for me, I want to know for a fact that this is organically grown, outdoors, no diesel. I want to know for a fact that the workers are paid a living wage and are treated well. I want to know for a fact that it's actually been, that my values are actually being reflected. Because what scares me, Tommy, is the corporate commodification of this sacrament that's been nurtured by people since time immemorial. And now Seagram's and R.J. Reynolds Corporation and these folks are going to try to come in and corporatize this thing. And I have a real fear of that.
Well, I see where you're coming from, but all corporations they're people. They're not robots. They're people with ability, with incredible ability to organize huge amounts of whatever they're selling. They have that, and they also have that ability to cut to the chase. Like, okay, this is what's working, then we need more of this. I see your point there, but the way the laws are, see, I've always had a problem with recreational marijuana. I've always had that problem with that. I personally would like to see it stay medical marijuana, because medical marijuana has tax benefits for people that can't afford expensive medicines, and that should not be taken from the consumer. So I would like to see medical marijuana be treated like it was intended to be when they first legalized it. It was all legalized medical marijuana, and then the people get greedy and they want to turn it into a beer or a cigarette, and so they call it recreation, and then they put all these restrictions on that are ridiculous, but they create income for people. So you're right. A co-op would be the ideal thing, because we'd have a board of directors on there determining what is fresh and real and good, and what isn't, including the to how it's distributed.
And that brings us into, again, my role with the U.S. Solidarity Economy Network, where we are promoting, incubating not only worker-owned cooperatives, but advocating for public banking in order to ensure that we democratize finance. But wait, there's more. Using community land trust, not just to preserve agriculture space and forests, but also for affordable housing. But wait, even more, participatory budgeting, universal basic income, locally owned and controlled energy production and distribution models. See, what we're saying is the Bernie Sanders vision of how an economy can operate, like that's actually within our grasp. And that's the reason why I'm encouraging folks, and I want to do a plug to the California Progressive Alliance. And if you're not in California, like try to create something like this, because the California Progressive Alliance exists as a place where progressives of any party affiliation, we've got Democrats, we've got Greens, we've got socialists, we've got independents, all saying party labels are not the issue. The real issue is, are we building a progressive agenda from the bottom up? And Tommy, it is our belief that there are supermajorities that support healthcare for all. They support an end to war as foreign policy. They support the kind of policies that a progressive agenda can build. And if we work together at the local level, especially, we can actually start from like school boards and water boards and city councils, and we can build a progressive agenda that is able to shift the entire culture, right? And I'm
absolutely, yeah.
And so, Tommy, for you, this notion of economics, I think, is really important, right? Because you actually are at the cutting edge of the cannabis economy, but you're one of those folks who actually understands cannabis as sacrament, right? You're one of those who understands a progressive vision. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts about how we might think about the cannabis movement and progressive politics cross-pollinating.
Well, they have to, because they're one and the same. You know, this is the world we live in now. During the pandemic, they shut down bars, they shut down movie theaters, they shut down restaurants, but they kept the cannabis dispensaries open. Why? Because we are essential. And when you have an essential business, that gives you the kind of power that overruns banks and overruns everything. Because we're not only look what we are involved with. We are involved with a product that not only makes you laugh and happy and want to eat food, but it's good for you. It will make you live longer. It will help you with Parkinson's. It'll help you with epilepsy. It'll help you with MS. It's been proven to help you with MS. Montel Williams has MS. And if he didn't do marijuana every day, he wouldn't be Montel Williams. He'd be in bed or he'd be dead. So what we've got now, we got to remember what we've got is so powerful. It's how we present the finance thing. So my suggestion is that we get together and form our own bank, the Bank of Cannabis, and that specializes in cannabis, everything. And the bank will be insured by the federal government. And it will be all of that, because what we have to do now, sooner than later, is to force the government to reschedule marijuana to what it really is, a sacrament. Exactly. That's it. That's exactly what we want to do.
And Tommy, I love that, because what it really brings it down to is, you know, and you mentioned the Constitution, and I'm a lawyer by training. I was a trial lawyer, and, you know, I could get all weepy-eyed about, you know, I went to law school because I had this vision of, you know, Atticus Finch and, you know, Ralph Nader and doing justice. And it really broke my heart because as an environmental lawyer, it's like everything was about permitting and literally like permitting pollution to happen, right? And but I really want to like remind myself and listeners and viewers, like the first three words to the U.S. Constitution are "we
the people."
Right on, you know, and Tommy, like I'm honestly getting goosebumps because those are hallowed words, and it reminds us that done correctly, we are the government. Like we are collectively supposed to be deciding how our economy works, how to best protect the environment, how do we protect our children and our elders, how do we, like, what kind of world do we want to live in? And I'm going to tell you that like every social science survey that you ask, people want to protect the environment, they want to protect each other. The politicians have got us fighting each other, when if we actually do the work of building together, most people want a progressive world. And I really I want to use this opportunity to say, I've mentioned the California Progressive Alliance. I also want to lift up the Transition US and the fact that this is a group that is trying to transition away from fossil fuel towards sustainable energy, transition away from an extractive, exploitive economic system to a cooperative solidarity economic system. And I want to invite everyone to the Regenerative Community Summit that's coming up September 24th. And here's the plug. As the climate emergency, social crises, natural and everyday disasters are rocking our communities, transition and the broader movement for a regenerative, just, resilient community offers inspiration and hope to practical local action. So I'm personally inviting you, if you're a doer, if you're a dreamer, if you're an activist, if you're a community leader, a farmer, an entrepreneur, an educator, an artist, if you believe it's possible to create that new world, I just dropped the link, register and join us. And Tommy, I want to ask you, as somebody who has like this unique vantage point, what are you seeing that inspires or excites you?
In which way?
Well, about like you talked about, like there is this new opportunity, like whether it is progressive politics, whether it's cannabis, whether it's economics, like is there anything that's happening that you're like, hey, you know what, David, pay attention to this thing?
Well, yeah. Absolutely. We're holding it in our hand. I'm holding it in my hand right now, my cell phone. You see, the cell phone is the most powerful instrument in the world today. There's none more powerful. There's nothing more powerful than the cell phone. And what we need to do is what's going on now. We don't need to do anything. What we need to do is be the face of what's going on. You know, we're not inventing anything new. This is all going on now. It's called AI, artificial intelligence. It's going on now. Artificial intelligence will save us and save the world, because artificial intelligence is another word for peace and creativity, because you can't create when everything's being torn apart and you know the fabric is being torn. The wars and everything that happen, they're for us to learn to grow as human beings, to grow as people. That's a war is like a family squabble. You make up, you kiss, everything gets good, you forget about it, and then the next generation goes through the same shit. But what we have to do is put our money where our mouth is. You see, everything that you described is perfect, but it takes money. Everything that I want to do with the world is perfect too, but it takes money. So what I want to do, I want to raise $1 trillion, $1 trillion, and I want to start a movie company. like the old MGM movie studios, because a movie studio can create a society that you can only see in movies. It can, with the right writers, with the right directors, with the right actors, we can create a model of utopia, how the earth should be living. And we can do it right now. And when we do that, we will offer the people something to follow, something to worship, something to believe in, something which is all truth. And we can do it through this cell phone, because the cell phone will show our movie. And so when we get the $1 trillion budget, we pay everybody that needs to be paid to do the movie, and we show it on our cell phone. And we not only spend the $1 trillion, but we make a couple of $1 trillion showing it.
And so then we invest it in the cooperative economy that we want. And
that's
Tommy,
right.
I gotta say, man, you're making me so excited, because at Cooperation Humboldt, our very first event was something called Artists Dismantling Capitalism.
That's right.
We've done it every year. It's gotten bigger and bigger every year. And you're reminding me of the great artist Tony Bambara. She said, the role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible. Right?
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, we're not talking about guns and blood in the streets kind of revolution. We're talking about the revolution of the mind. We're talking about imagining and then living into our imagination for how we can live this kind of new way. And
that's right. That's right.
It's not a new way. It's the old way.
And the beauty of it all is that everybody has a job. And if everybody has a job, then everybody gets paid. You see? Right. And when everybody gets paid, everybody can afford to live in a nice house, can drive a nice car, can put their kids in good schools.
Right on. And I really think it's important, because you touched on two things that I really want to lift up. And one is like work, right? The reality is that work is meaningful, productive human activity. And the right wing is telling us a lie that people are lazy and they don't want to work. That's bullshit. People want meaningful, productive activity for which they will be respected and acknowledged.
Okay. You know what we got to do with the right wing? And we got to do it right now. You and I got to do it right now. You know what we got to do? We got to forgive them.
Oh, man. Dude,
we got to forgive them. You know why?
You're blowing my mind. Give me an easier task.
You know why? Because the more we resist, the bigger they get. They only exist because they piss us off. If they don't piss us off, if we forgive them, they disappear. You know that term, forgive and forget? You forgive them. And I want you to do it right now. I want you to say,
you know what?
I forgive them.
You know what? I forgive them, and I'm going to work joyfully towards that new world, right?
That's it. That's it.
So you got it. So,
all the energy I want to see out of you is not talking about what might happen if the wrong people, forget that bullshit. Because every time you even mention that thing, they exist. They're the boogeyman that becomes real. And so what you do, they don't exist. And the way you neuter them, you put them out of business, is you forgive them. We're giving them, we're making them disappear. That's how they disappear. I forgive Donald Trump. I forgive Giuliani. I forgive all those people, because they are so sad. They need to be forgiven. Not propped up. Don't continually prop
I hate it when somebody puts my own values right in front of me and forces me to confront it. You're totally right, of course, right? and what I know is this, right? This notion of work being meaningful and productive. We've got to give people the menu, right? We've got to give them the options to create the world that they actually want.
Remember, though, we're not giving them anything. They're giving us. They're giving us, that's why we want immigrants to come into our country. We want the people to come in. We want more people. It's like raising a barn. We want all the people we can, because what we're doing is very heavy and we need people. We need people. And you know what? That's why I'm looking at the Afghan thing thinking, we're getting the best of the best out of Afghanistan. They're pouring out of there. They're pouring out of there. And the other ones, they can't wait to get out themselves. And the poor guys that are left, they're like, hey, well, just a minute. There's no game if everybody goes home. You know what I mean? And they're coming. Where are they coming? They're coming here to America. They're not a burden. Are you kidding? There's someone we're getting the cream of Afghanistan as like a present. They're coming with their families. They're going to live here. They're going to grow up here. They're going to go to school here. They're going to invent things like the cell phone. You know what I mean? They're going to be part of our revolution, our cannabis revolution. Yeah,
Right
of
on.
course they are. Of course they are. Because they need jobs. And guess what? We got jobs to give them. So everything's working in our favor. And I love what happened with us, because this was serendipity. You know, I had no idea we were going to be talking to each other. And so what's going on is so big and so real. Look at it, put us together.
Right on. So listen, Tommy, like, you've been so generous with your time. I want to drop into the chat the website for Cooperation Humboldt. I would be remiss if I didn't also talk about the work that we're doing here locally in Humboldt County. And Tommy, come on up here. We want to not only show you the work that we're doing, but smoke you out. I know you've already got a line on Humboldt, but I do want to take a moment to share with viewers and listeners that at Cooperation Humboldt, we're partnering with the local Wiyot tribe upon whose land I live. They have stewarded this land appropriately since time immemorial. They know how to survive and they know how to nurture the world. We're building Dishkama Humboldt, which means love Humboldt in the Wiyot language, to do regenerative economic development and restoration work, to build worker-owned cooperatives, to use mass timber products. We're literally talking about how do we give people meaningful, productive work to create society based on those values. And the thing is, Tommy, those values, the indigenous values, are actually human values. And I want to conclude my thoughts before we give Tommy a chance for final thoughts and then turn it over to Nick Cortez. Tommy, like, I know that my ancestors that lived in right relationship to Mother Earth were Scottish and Irish, because I've actually done the research. That's why I have a specific hatred of the English Empire, not English people, not English people, but empire. See, yes. Empire that comes over to exploit, to extract, to pillage and plunder. They drove my people off of the land that they were in right relationship with, and then they came to this continent and pillaged and plundered. So I don't have anywhere to go, Tommy. Like, I'm here. I can't go back to Scotland and Ireland. That's been lost to me. But what I can do is work with the Wiyot tribe to learn how to re-indigenize myself here, how to get into right relationship with the land and the water here in Humboldt County and with the Wiyot people themselves. And my final thoughts is this. This new world is possible. In fact, it is beginning to develop right now. And Tommy, at some point, I'm going to invite you for real to come up to Humboldt and just take a look and see what we're doing. And let's see if between my work with the U.S. Solidarity Economy Network and capital investors, to see if we can actually create that entertainment industry to help other people live into the vision that you and I have been talking about.
I love it. I love it. I'm glad we met. I love what you talked about. And even though, you know, I'm very stoned right now, I followed everything you said, and I'm right there. I'm right there.
Right on.
I'm happy we're there. You know, I'm half Scottish. My grandfather was Scottish, and my grandmother married an Irishman. So I'm there's some Dylan in me and some Gilchrist, and there's some Chong, a lot of Chinese, and there's 8% native. Now I'm thinking Assiniboine, I'm not sure. It's a bank, the border of Manitoba and Saskatchewan, in a little town called Maffican. But so I've got all those, that blood running through me, which I think is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I really do, because I do represent everybody. I don't hate the British Empire, by the way. I admire what they did. You know, they managed to do. They colonized. They're very racist, but in being racist, they also thinned the crop. And look at what we got now. So I got to sign off now and,
All right,
and say
man.
goodbye. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tommy. We're going to find ways to work together. Nick,
Okay.
thanks, brother.
Okay,
Nick,
see you
Thank
later.
you, Tommy.
all right, peace.
Thank you.
Nick, I want to make sure to give you an opportunity to just sort of, I tried to represent the California Progressive Alliance to the best of my ability in this conversation, but I really want to give you, Nick, a chance to sort of say some words about CPA.
Yeah, no, David, thank you for the wonderful conversation. That was a joy to watch and participate in. But yeah, just on that, for those folks that are not familiar with the California Progressive Alliance, we are a volunteer organization. We are nonpartisan, as David was saying. So, we're really committed to our progressive values, a lot of which David touched on tonight. From believing that healthcare is a human right, working towards the creation of public banks, trying to, stop and reduce the extractive economic forces of Wall Street, working towards worker-owned cooperatives and more meaningful work for folks. So, I really encourage folks to check us out. We've got a lot of information on our website, and join us. There's a lot of work to be done. And, like David said tonight, we got to come together and do this, work on this vision together, because there is a lot of good things happening out there and we need to lift those positive things up right now. So, David, I just want to say thank you to you for all you do, and especially this great conversation. And I know Tommy's not here anymore, but that was wonderful for him to give up a portion of his evening on his granddaughter's birthday. And appreciate everyone that's participating and watching, and we will post the recording if you missed any portions or want to come back to it. So thanks again.
Peace.
All right.
You got so drunk and fucked up and high, you passed out in the car and you missed the show. But that's all right. Because getting fucked up and high is what you're supposed to do when you come to see Tommy Chong and a hemp fest from High Time show. And we did. I don't care, 'cause all my care